Flex it.
Welcome back to episode 3 of the Cousin Chronicles. Woo. We are going to be diving into a real big topic today, y'all. We are going to be talking about double standards. And I don't mean just boy versus girl double standards. I mean double standards when it comes to relationships, when it comes to parenting, and when it comes to workplaces. Like, we're going to hit all areas. Okay? Y'all ready?
Yes, definitely ready.
All right.
Right.
We're going to start off with the basic stereotypical type of double standards, where it's boy versus girl. Because when people think of double standards, they think of, well, boys are meant to be working outside and girls are meant to be working inside. So, Mimi, what are your takes on boy versus girl double standards?
This sounds like my life. No, so like I've experienced that, especially growing up with two older brothers. So like things that my brothers got to do growing up, I wasn't allowed to do. And I believe that it was because of our genders, in that, they were allowed to go hang out with their friends. They were allowed to go, stay after school for this, that, and the third. But then when it was my turn, my parents just like, oh, I gotta know who you staying with. I gotta know this. I need to know. I don't know that person. I need to see some type of documentation. And it was just like, but yeah, y'all let the boys go do X, Y, Z. And so then it was just like, I remember when I was a teenager, I had that conversation with them. It was just like, the boys have always got to do things that they wanted to do, whereas for me, a lot of my things were stifled, or like I couldn't do, or like I had to jump through hoops to be able to do them. And my parents just like, flat out told me it was just because of the fact that they were boys, that like they felt that I needed more protecting because I was a girl. But out of all my siblings, I had the best grades and the best behavior. So I was like, come on, y'all, what in the world? So like I've experienced that, and then it's just like, even just growing up and as an adult now, even in the workplace, you see the disparity in how genders are treated. Yes. I saw it in college. I saw it, now in my career. So it's just like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'll say, unlike Mimi, I haven't had any personal experience with gender double standards or double standards based off of gender. However, I have noticed, like, my parents are very old school. They were born in the 50s. So, like, my dad, when he bought the house that he bought now for my mom, or really for the family, he was like, I'll take care of the outside and you take care of the inside. And I'm like, okay, but, it's kind of everybody's thing. But he's
right.
Like, my mom, he retired her once Gabby was born, so back in 2013, 2014. And, like, her, I guess, role is like a housewife. Mm-hmm. So she takes care of all the needs of the house, the washing, the cooking, the cleaning. If the house needs things bought for it, that's what she does. Whereas he goes out and he works, and then he does the lawn, anything that because we have a small homestead, so anything the animals need, like he fits Royal's doghouse, because Royal decided to be a demolition dog. So he fits Royal's house. He's building Raiden one. We put up the fence for the chickens. Like, so he's the outside worker and she's the homekeeper. Mm-hmm. I've also noticed like a big difference or double standards based on gender when it comes to different activities. Mm-hmm. Like when you think about sports, for example, you have the NBA, which is male, and then you have the WNBA, which is the W stands for women. And the NBA generates more money, more spectators, more sponsorships than the WNBA, but the two are putting in the same amount of work. Yeah. Like they're playing the same game, and they have, I'll even say they have the same amount of talent. Mm-hmm. But yet, when it comes to basketball, the NBA is more popular than the WNBA. Yeah. And I even remember like maybe like a year or two back, when someone took like a picture of the weight room for the NBA or the workout room for the NBA, and then they took a picture of the workout room for the WNBA, and they were completely different. Like the NBA had like this whole gym with state of the art equipment, everything that they needed. Whereas the women, they just had like a pair of dumbbells, maybe a treadmill. Like it was very, very simplistic, but even it was beneath them, I'll say. And it's like, yes, they're women, but they still perform to a high standard just as the men do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll also say, like, again, when it comes to activities, like just things that boys are able to do versus girls. Like, again, I don't have anything to put this on because I have a sister, or the basis on because I have a sister, but like things that I've seen is, like you said, boys are able to go out and experience more, and I'll say at a younger age than us as females, because we are seen as the damsels in distress, or like, the ones that need protecting.
Fragile.
Yeah. And even in Disney movies, they portray us as that because, well, up until recently, every princess needed a prince to save her. Yeah. So like, it even shows in like the things we watch, and even in social media, like women are seen as these frail, fragile beings, or even sub beings. Like they look at us totally different than they do men. Whereas men are seen as these big macho, can pick up a whole house with one finger. Popeye. They're seen as Popeye, and we're seen as what's her name? Olive. We just Popeye, come save me. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's definitely an image or a double standard based off of gender.
Yeah, I'll say when it comes to gender, for me, like she said, we haven't really experienced it within our household, except for, like she said, Dad take care of the outside, he mows the lawn and all that stuff, and take care of the cars and the outside of the house. And Mom, she takes care of the inside of the house, and we help out Mom on the inside. I can say that, I remember growing up in school, you saw a lot of the double standards and stuff, as far as like, how like when it would be like the end of the year or like middle of the year when the teacher's cleaning out the classroom and stuff, and like she'll put all the stuff in boxes or whatever, she'll have the boys carry the boxes, and the girls are just supposed to clean off the desk and the chairs and stuff. I'm like, ma'am, I can definitely carry a box. These Clorox wipes would be drying out my hands, and I could carry a box. I could carry a tote. Like, two of us girls together can make something happen. If it was super heavy, which 9 times out of 10, it won't that heavy because the boys can pick it up.
Right.
But yeah, so you saw it in school. Teachers, they always expected, like, the girls are always expected to be, more knowledgeable than the boys are supposed to be. Because the boys, they're supposed to be focusing on sports and all this good stuff, whereas we're supposed to be focusing on our education and getting somewhere. And also, I would say that, you see it in the workplace a lot.
Yes.
Like, men are more favorable than the women in the workplace. I think that's the right word to say, favorable. Yeah, and like, you'll see a man get like praised and promoted faster than a female who's doing the same job and probably better at the job than the man is.
Working twice as hard.
And I agree with that, but I believe there's like a condition on it, because I think it depends on like the area that the man is working in. Because like normally nursing roles, nursing jobs, teaching jobs, and like even cosmetology jobs, they were seen as female dominated areas, to where the man was the doctor and the woman was the nurse. Mm-hmm. Like, no matter what show you watch, what movie you watch, or even what hospital you walked into, that was what it was. That was what you saw. Whereas now, there are men that are nurses and there are women that are doctors. But the double standard is that the man, since he is the head, men could only be doctors, and women could only work for the man and be a nurse. Mm-hmm. The same thing with teaching. Women weren't seen as, or didn't have jobs as, factory workers or labor jobs. Mm-hmm. They were only allowed to teach the children, manage the children or whatnot. Yeah, or cook. And then same thing with, I'd say even cosmetology. Like, yes, cosmetology is like a beauty and health-based industry, mm-hmm. but it seemed that with men, the double standard is men don't care how they look or smell. They just gonna go out, work, come home, eat, and just be providers.
Mm-hmm.
And so women were the ones who had to upkeep or maintain their physical appearance. So yeah, like the women, remember back in the day, they were eating tapeworms so that they can stay slender and keep their physique. And they were the ones, going to the beauty shop with the rollers in their hair and stuff. So I think that there are double standards in the workplace, and it's based on like profession. Like I believe women's role in the workplace or in careers is like dumbed down or on like a basic level, whereas a man's role, like men are seen as CEOs, doctors, and like heads of businesses or leaders, whereas we're just the worker bees.
Right.
Well, I think that's more so like gender roles too. Like a lot of that is based on how back in the day women were not supposed to or allowed to work. They were homekeepers. And I think that as time has progressed, that antiquated way of thinking like that has matriculated into the workplace to where it's more popular for women to be, presidents and CEOs.
Yeah.
But back then, they didn't think that we had the intelligence or the wherewithal or the strength to be able to do so. And then it's just like, I think that in the workplace, and I've experienced it myself, where a male has been able to advance faster than a woman has. Not necessarily just speaking on myself, but someone that has been with the company or department way longer than he has was overlooked for a promotion. And it's just like, I think that there were more things at play that made that happen. But I would be, it would be remiss for me not to notice that, the male was the last hired, been there the least amount of time than all the females that applied for that position, and somehow he was able to get it. And so it's just like, and then in the running for it, the women are told, oh, this isn't your opportunity, but still be grateful that you have a position and things like that. And it's just like, by another male, basically women didn't get the job, a male got the job, and then they were told by a male that they didn't get the job. And the gist of the whole rejection speech or whatever was that, like, there'll be other opportunities, and like, I don't want you to feel like for instance, one of the rebuttals was that, I feel that, everything that I've done and the hard work that I put in is for nothing.
Right.
Because someone who had been there less time and, in my own opinion, wasn't doing or didn't do as much as I did in the time that they were there was chosen over me. And it's just like, but then to be told, no, don't look at it that way. Well, no, don't overlook or tell me not to feel the way that I feel. Yeah. And it's just like, because then, because my feelings are what they are. And though, no, you may not feel or you may not think that, your actions or your choices and who you promoted, played a factor, it does.
Yes, it does.
And then it's just like, for me, these are just my own personal opinions, in that it does something to work morale when stuff like that happens.
Yes.
Or where women are overlooked for jobs. Like, I can take myself out of the equation, but it's just like knowing the other people that applied for that same position that were overlooked. And it's just like, and then now seeing how it's starting to play out and how it has damaged people's opinions and people's morale and the sense of work. It's like, but those feelings go ignored.
Yeah.
We're expected to, and I can say this as a black woman in the workplace, that the grief or the loss of that promotion opportunity, I'm just expected to be okay with it. And I'm expected to come to work still giving 110%, still doing the things that I was doing, and still laughing and smiling like nothing haven't ever happened. When in reality, I'm hurt. Or it's just like we talked about last season, how you have to grieve loss of opportunities.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, in that moment, you have to give me the respect that I deserve to grieve that loss. And if because of the decision that you've made causes me to not give what I was giving, you have to be okay with that. You can't knock me for that, because women, we have a tendency to go in and give our all in everything that we do. And so then when we are overlooked, or we are, not given those promotions, especially when you're overlooked by a male counterpart, it's just like, okay, I think you said it last season, it's like, why am I coming in and working this hard and giving 110% when you're going to give the promotions and opportunities to someone that's giving 80 or 75%. So then when I start giving 75, 80, 85% what that person was giving, it shouldn't be an issue. But then it will always be. It'll be an issue. So it's just like, it becomes honestly like a double standard. Like, you want me to give 110% of work, but you're just taking advantage of it. In a sense, you're not, number one, you're not paying folks for 110%. You're not advancing folks for the work that they do at 110%. So then it's just like, okay, well, why am I giving 110%? But then you want to write folks up or have verbal warnings or things like that when there's been a shift because of the actions that the higher ups have done. And then it's just like, like I said, it becomes a double standard. So it was okay for him to give 75% or 85%, break the rules, do this, that, and the third, and he got a promotion. But then it's just like, but then when I don't do the 110% that I've done because I was overlooked for something, then it becomes an issue. That becomes a double standard.
Right. Yeah. Mimi actually jumped into my next question. I was going to ask, what experience have you had in the workplace regarding double standards? So, what's your take? If you had any.
Trying to think back over all my work experience, because right now things are going pretty good. Well, let me recant that. So within the workplace, I do currently work in education, and we've had a high turnover with the administration. And prior to the administration team that we have now, our principal was a woman. We currently have a male principal, but during her tenure, she wasn't given respect in the way that a principal should be given respect. She was given respect as a woman. Like, oh yeah, you work here, you look good, you're a good face for the school, but we don't believe that you can do the job and handle the kids and discipline the behavior for the job. And like a lot of things, or a lot of the comments that I heard during her tenure was that, having the gender of your principal matters. So like, a woman, it's better to have a male principal because they're better disciplinaries. Whereas, and this really hit me at heart because we have a cousin that is a female, and she's a principal. So, it kind of made me think about her because, she's probably dealing with these same things, but they were like, she won't do as good of a job because she is a woman. And yes, she has a high position, but she's not capable to handle the duties of that position. And like I said, we now have a male principal, so she's no longer with us. But I do believe that the hearsay and the disrespect and the downplay played a big role in that. Because, we were just coming back from COVID. So, we had a different mind. The kids had a different mindset. They were used to doing whatever they wanted to for 18 months, and now they have to come back to structure. So she had to, deal with school and education from not only the aspect of the students, but from our aspect, because we were coming off of a nice long vacation. Now we got to come back to work. Parents were ready to ship their kids back to school because they were getting on their nerves. So they didn't take on you know, the totality of her position. They just looked at, oh, you're a woman.
Mm.
You can't do this because you're a woman.
Mm.
Yes, you look good in pictures, or yes, you're a good face for the school, but that's just because you're a woman.
Mm.
So that's one a double standard in the workplace, based on gender as well. I'm trying to think. I can't really think of I will. So when I worked at, I have to go back in my memory bank. So when I worked at the speech therapy center here in Greensboro, me and Mimi worked there together.
Oh, Lord.
She actually helped me get the job. But like in the office, there were 9 women, no men. We did the administrative and intake part of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And even our speech therapists, the ones who went out and helped the kids, they were women.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to the audiologist, that was a man.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we were, like I said, we were the administrative part. And it's kind of funny because it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black women. And then the other 4 were Caucasian women. But like we were expected to do all the work and stuff, and then audiologist, he only came in like what, maybe once a week, once every other week, because his job was to actually screen the kids to see if they needed or if speech therapy would be of a benefit to them. Mm-hmm. So he was kind of like the doctor on the scene. Mm-hmm. And then whereas the speech therapists, they were the ones who actually delivered the service that the kids needed. So they were like the nurses and stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's another double standard. Trying to think of anything else. No, well, I don't know if this is considered a double standard, but when we all worked at the transition home for women with children, you know, it's kind of funny because it's like a reversed double standard. Whereas we were there to help them live a sober life and get back on their feet, you know, go to their AA meetings, or excuse me, their NA meetings, as well as look for jobs, try to get in school, trying to get their children back. They saw us as like maids or as like the help. Yeah. And it's funny because it was like, no, like we're trying to get you where you need to be. How are you looking at me as, you know, your inferior or as inferior to you? Yeah. So yeah, and that was one that blew me.
Yeah, because they had that mindset, you get paid to help me. Yeah. No, that ain't what I get paid to do, baby. Like let's go on and just stop that now.
Or even for those who, you know, were able to, they had gotten their children back as a means of motivation, to get them where they need to be. They saw us as like babysitters. It's like, no, you the mama, you gotta learn how to navigate life with your child.
Yeah. That's what a transitional home is. You are transitioning.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's kind of like a reverse double standard, but they really saw us as like, you know, they're not there to help benefit them, but like there as like a crutch. Yeah, I'll say, or not necessarily a crutch, but like there to help clean up after their mess.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think like besides the workplace one that's the most recent one, but for me, like a lot of my views on double standards as it comes to the workplace, it doubles back to double standards on dependent upon race, not just gender. That like, you know, it is an expectation, like there's this unspoken expectation for us as black women to be the backbone for everything. Not just in our personal lives, but also in the workplace. Like we're supposed to keep it all together. We're supposed to work 10 times as hard. And it's just like we're not allowed to need mental health breaks. Or we're not allowed to feel, you know, offended by certain things, that we're supposed to just chalk it up and that like, or laugh it off. Or like our hard work is invalidated. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember I told y'all about this. Like I had a situation on the job where someone literally they did wrong and the offense was towards me, but the apology was to everybody else in the room but me. And it's just like, okay. And for a minute, it took me a minute to process it because I'm just like, okay, do you, and it was all women in the room, but I was the only person of color in the room. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, you literally, the wrong that the person did was, an overstep into my role and what my job is. They basically overlooked me and overstepped me and did basically my job and did it out of order and was, causing all this chaos. And so then when when the powers that be, that are the people that were all involved, were like, okay, well, let's all get in the same room. We all got in the same room, and everyone else in that room was looked at in the eye, and I'm sorry. But I was never given that same respect. Mm-hmm. But I was the one that did wrong. Like, and then it's just like, when I thought about it, I was just like, okay, was it because I was the only person of color in the room? Or was it because in that room setting, I was, in that person's eyes, I was the lowest person on the totem pole? Mm-hmm. But had I gotten visibly upset and cried, or, was verbally, assertive about, everything, I would have been looked at as the bad person. Yeah. And then it's just like, so then in that moment, that's why I feel like it was a double standard. In that, so you can literally bypass me in a room. That's a form of disrespect. Yes, it is. You can literally disrespect me in a room, and it's okay, and I'm supposed to just be okay with it. But then if I bring it up or I correct the disrespect, I'm in the wrong.
Yeah. You're angry and bitter.
I'm the angry black woman. I'm I'm aggressive.
Yeah.
And so then it's just like, for me, I go through life. Yes, I know that, gender bias is real. I know racial bias is real. All that. But I live my life in a way of, I'm big on respect. Everyone in this world deserves respect. Yes. Mm-hmm. And so when you're disrespectful in that regard, that means you're not only disrespecting me and the work that I do currently, but you're disrespecting me in my role at the table. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I wouldn't have been in the meeting if I didn't play a vital role. Right. And so now it's just like, in that moment when I brought it up, that I, because I'm very vocal, that I noticed that everyone in the room got an apology except for me. And then when I brought it to folks' attention, I didn't even put the race card in there until after the fact. Mm-hmm. And so then when I put the race card in there, they were more sympathetic at the fact that I felt that I was disrespected as my work role and not disrespected as a black woman.
Oh, wow. So they just overlooked that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So then it's just like, that's when it becomes an issue, because how can you promote, a lot of jobs are promoting diversity, inclusion and all that kind of stuff, and equality, but it's just like, you're having moments like this and you're not you're only recognizing the disrespect as my role. Right. Not, that's my job title, not the totality of who I am.
Yeah, right.
But it's just like, but if I did it would be an issue. That, oh, you made that girl cry, like, you could have been a little nicer, or, or even to the degree of, oh, you could have just overlooked that.
No.
Like, so you want me, for the sake of somebody else's feelings, to disregard my feelings.
Exactly. No.
And it's just like, that's not fair, because when the shoe was on the other foot, like, it's a problem. Like, that's the thing that about double standards that get me. It's just like, that's all. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it.
I was waiting to bring that up.
Like, that's honestly how it is when you realize, the double standards and how people operate and people's expectations. It does become a thing of, so it's cool when you do it, but it's a problem when I do it.
Exactly. And I had that experience happen at one of my previous jobs where It was known to everybody that before this girl came in to work, and even doing work, like working in education, you're not supposed to be on your phones during instructional times.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be using that time to focus on the kids, work with kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's no offense to everybody that she would be on her phone with the kids around, because you know, you're not supposed to show kids on in social media or anything. And she'd be doing all this stuff on her phone or whatever, and she'd be on TikTok and everything. It was like the last day of school. All the TAs, we had to do Cume folders. Hate Cume folders. We had to do Cume folders. So I was doing Cume folders. I was live on Facebook. Nobody said any kids' names. Never heard any personal information. It was just the fact that I was live. And I guess one of the teachers, somebody had brought it up to her, and to the principal or whatever, and she was like, I could write you up for this, but I'm going to let you off for the warning since we're about to be out on summer break. And I was like, so I said, okay, whatever. So I left or whatever, and I told my 2 friends that I had made at the school what happened. And it was like, well, if you had got written up, you should be like, they definitely be on their phone. Like, you can scroll through their page and like see it. It was like we went back and listened to it before because they made me delete the live. We went back and listened to it. It was like we didn't hear no names, no addresses, personal information, nothing. We was just like, what papers needed? I need the shot records. That's all you heard. But yeah, I got in trouble. But she was okay. But the other girl was okay. But she was of the other race.
And I think something that plays into double standards is, people have this mindset, or we were brought up with, and I believe is a very popular belief, that, you worry about yourself. Like, yes, Sally may be doing 50 million things wrong, but don't you do wrong. And then as soon as we get in trouble for the one thing we do and we bring up Sally, then it's like, oh, why are you worried about her? This conversation is between me and you. But when in reality, if you are actually concerned about, rules being followed and people's actions, then you would be willing to reprimand anyone who disobeyed the rules. Yeah. Like, no one person is above the rules. Right. No one person has or is exempt from the rules. So, like, if I'm getting in trouble, you need to make sure that you handle that as well. And it's not me, snitching on anybody or running anybody under the bus, but you can't get mad at me for doing one thing or a minor thing, and then this person has been doing the same exact thing forever. Right. And to be honest, 9 times out of 10, when stuff like that happens, it's not that they don't know or that they're not aware. It's that they choose to put the blinders on. It's like, oh, we don't see it. Unless like a parent brings it up, it's like we don't see it. Meanwhile, like you said, it was the last day of school. There was no personal information said. Somebody was probably in their feelings. They went and told. So, I think that mindset of mind your own business plays a big role into double standards. Because if we're all minding our own business, then we can never catch the inconsistencies and the inequality of certain workplaces, certain situations, certain people.
Yeah. And that's why it's always good to, like, I be at work minding my own business, but I observe everything.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Because it's just like, my thing is that, and like I said in the first episode, I at one time did have some blinders on when it came to, work. Not just my current job, but like other jobs. Like I did have certain blinders on. But then it's just like when those blinders are lifted, it's just like, okay, I'm seeing things differently. And so then for me, it's not a thing of I'm trying to be nosy or I'm trying to snitch on anybody. No, I'm trying to protect myself.
Exactly. Right. Cover yourself.
Because if it's a thing that I'm going to be reprimanded for something, or I'm going to be talked to about something, or something about my workflow or work practices is going to be brought to the fire or criticized, then it's just like, for me, it needs to be equitable across the board.
Yes.
So it's just like, you can't sit up there and be like, oh, we're all about, making sure that everyone's treated fairly. Well, no. How is it fair that you're checking and clocking me what I'm doing, but yet I have a coworker that disappears for hours, upon times or whatever, and nothing is said.
Right.
And so it's just like, so you got to be careful with that, because then it turns into a thing of becoming workplace bias.
Yes.
And then that turns into a whole lawsuit.
Yes.
So it's just like, it ain't me, like I said, clocking nobody. It ain't me trying to snitch on nobody. No, it's me protecting myself. Mm-hmm. Because if there ever comes a time where something that I do at work is questioned or brought to the fire, and I know that someone else has done it, do trust that I'm going to bring it up and be like, well, was this same energy given to so-and-so when they were, dipping out of the office for a certain amount of time? Was the, time frame and turnaround for this the same as when so-and-so, did it this way? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, you have to, us as, people of color, sometimes you have to do that.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, yes. I know that, like, when we work at the speech therapist place together, our auntie that brought us in to the job kept records of everything. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, and she told us to do the same. Mm-hmm. In that, and I still to this day have notes locked in my phone of double standards and bias that we experienced at that job. Mm-hmm. Because of the simple fact of, if it's not documented, if something were to come of it, you have no case. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that, I've carried with me, even to this day, that when something happens or something that I feel, it may not be that, it could just be my view, but when something like that happens, I document it. Because then it's just like, because, that's the first thing I ask, well, do you have dates and times when this happened? Well, yes, on this date, this happened. Right. But it shouldn't be like that. Like, it's like, you want to scream from the mountaintop, we're diverse, we include people, we're equal. But then it's just like, you still have these, some of it is unconscious, some of it is conscious. Yes. These, motives, or like these ways of moving or ways of thinking that still scream double standards.
Yep. And like, when you said that about covering yourself, I agree with you on that 100%, because normally when you're in those situations where you are getting reprimanded, like let's just say the person said she could have written her up. Once you sign that, that's a document with your signature on.
Legal binding document.
Yes, you can't break from that. So once you sign that, you're saying, yes, I did this. Yes, this happened. Yes, I understand about this, that, and the third. And though that may be the case, if that's not the same consequence for everyone around the board, you don't need to put your name on that, because that only binds you to it. Mm-hmm. Whereas Sally Sue can still continue on doing whatever she wants to. And here we go, since you decide you're in trouble, you're on probation, you're let go. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you definitely have to cover yourself. And of course, people aren't going to like it, because at the end of the day, I don't want to say you've put them in a bad situation, but you've brought to light what they're doing in the dark. But sometimes you have to shine the light on things for there to be change. Yeah. Like, you can't be the only one getting in trouble, getting reprimanded, getting consequences when the census is, this is okay. Because either this person does it, or these people have been doing it for so long. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're going to make changes, the changes have to be for the group and not just for an individual.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. So let's go ahead and switch viewpoints. Let's go to relationship-wise.
Oh, God.
Y'all ready for that one?
Oh, no.
So, the double standards in relationships. And it's not necessarily like how we said at the beginning, he takes care of the outside, she takes care of the inside. Like, let's get into like the deep nitty-gritty of the relationship.
I think, yes, I could talk a day or two about this. Like, it goes back to, like I said, gender double standards. Mm-hmm. in that, for instance, it's okay for a guy to have a high body count. He the man. Like, he that dude.
Yeah.
But let a female have a high body count. Oh, she loose. She a hoe. She this, that, and the third. It's just like, okay, but right. But then, too, it's just like in the dating aspect, because I had this happen one time where, like, a guy, like, he asked what the body count. Now, my body count is low because I wasn't out there gapping and wiping everybody. So, like, my body count was low, but his was high. And because I didn't like that, that's just my opinion. Like, that means you was out there slinging it for everybody.
For every community. Everybody.
And that was community penis at that time.
His, hers, theirs.
Right. And so it's just like, because I had an issue with it, or I was like, or I made the comment like, that's, a pretty high number. I was labeled as, oh, I'm a prude, or oh, like, I don't have no life experience. It's like, that, and then they try to play the whole, oh, well, you a church girl, so I wouldn't expect you. First of all, that ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China.
Hello.
Like, my relationship with the Lord ain't got nothing to do with this conversation right now.
Hello. Yeah.
But yeah, so like, it was like the whole thing about body counts. And it's just like, it's okay for men to have high body counts, but it's not okay for women to have, high body counts. And then too, it's just like the expectations when it even just comes to dating. Like, these days, men just ain't men no more.
Woo,
if that makes sense.
It do.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a strong, independent woman. However, I like for my man to, be a man, to like lead. Like, I was raised that the man is the head of the household. And it's just like all these men, they're wanting to be labeled as men, or oh, I'm a grown man this, or as a whole grown man that. But it's just like, you got whole little boy tendencies.
Woo! That part.
And so then it's just like, for me, like, I can only speak for, my marriage. Like I said, like, before he and I got married, and even when, like, we were dating, I've always been a strong, independent woman. But it's just like, the whole, oh, you gotta be like, a submissive wife and something. First of all, the man has to be worthy of submission before a woman can submit. And I don't think a lot of men get that.
They don't at all.
And I think, to me, that's a double standard in that you expect a submissive wife, but you're not giving head of the household husband. So, like, your expectations are a little off. So, like, you want me to be this wife, but what are you giving me as a husband? Now, I'm not speaking on my marriage because, like I said, like, my husband is the head of our household, and, like, we make decisions together and everything. He is very much a man worthy of submission. And so then it's just like, I have to, like I said, I am an independent woman, but I had to learn how to let him lead. And I'm still learning how to let him lead, but he had to be worthy of that. And so then I think that it's a double standard, and that it's the expectation for us women to just be submissive and just be okay with anything because, the Bible says the man this, that, and the third. But it's just like, you can't throw the Bible at me and your expectations of what you want as a wife, but you're not living up to those biblical expectations of a husband.
Right.
So it's just like, but then it's just like, that's the double standard that's being promoted. And that us girls, we're supposed to be homemakers. Yeah, we can still work and stuff like that, but we're still expected to keep the home, still expected to raise and rear the children and nurture the children, and still have, dinner ready at this time, and still, massage his back, be his piece, and all this other kind of stuff. Y'all want to put those expectations on us as women, but what are y'all bringing to the table?
Can't even bring the bread sometimes.
Right. Let alone the table at all. Or the roof that goes over the table. So it's just like, right, you have to be careful about that and not setting up that double standard of, yes, I want you as a wife and I want you to do all these things, but I'm only going to be a mediocre husband. That's not fair.
Yeah. And basically copy what Mimi said, paste it again. It's like, you didn't say that again for the people in the back. But like, I saw this post on Facebook and it was more biblical, but I'm about to flip it to work for this situation. But it said, stop making C+ decisions while praying to God for an A+ life. So in a relationship, along the lines of what Mimi was saying, like, you can't be out here, you know, as a man, you know, saying that you want a wife who's going to cook, clean, be faithful to you, and you out here slinging it every way, which way that it'll go, depending on which way the wind blows.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, you can't want commitment but not be willing to give commitment.
That's fine.
Like, and that's the thing with double standards. It's all take on one side. It's not equal. Also, I'll say with men, a double standard is pleasure. Pleasure is selfish. It's always about one person, that person not being the partner, but the selfish person themselves. Like, you have to worry about both sides. And that's where, you know, mutualism and consent comes into play. Just because you hot and ready don't mean she or he came out the stove hot and ready.
Right.
So that's another double standard. Like, you can't be so centered and focused on yourself. I will say that another double standard within a relationship, and like Mimi said, it goes back to gender roles, but is that, you know, the woman is going to be in the house, you know, just taking care of the house. And, you know, because of these reality shows that we have, like the Housewives, Basketball Wives, even like Love and Hip Hop, I believe that has painted a picture in men's heads that all we are trophies. We're there to look pretty and look pretty, be pretty, speak nicely, dress nicely, and it's like
children.
Yeah, and then it's like a period. Like, that's the limit for us. When in reality, that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
That a major, you know, double standard within a relationship comes from upbringing. Where and I'll say, when I say upbringing, I mean, you know, one parent household versus two parent households. Because when I was dating my daughter's father, you know, I've always been in a two parent household with my mom and my dad, whereas he was raised by his mother. And no, this isn't true for all single parents, but just for this relationship that I've experienced. He was looking for somebody that was his mom, really. Like, he wanted someone that was going to baby him, take care of him, cook for him, do everything he wanted to do while he was out here running the streets. And I was like, you know, I don't mind doing those things, but you can't just be out here running the streets. Like, I need you to, you know, provide for me so that I can cook for you, because I can't cook nothing that ain't here. I need you to be here, because once I cook for you, you need to be here and eat it. I need you to, you know, attend to me. Like, emotionally, like, just listen to me. Like, yes, I understand that you have things that you go through, and, you know, you're going to vent. But what about when I need somebody to vent to? Like, the expectation was that I talk to y'all, because he ain't have time for that. And so that's like, I think that's a double standard, in that, you know, my friends were there for me to lean on, but I was supposed to be there for him to lean on. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I think as far as me and my viewpoint on relationship was that, like y'all said, that, you know, men, they just ain't men in these days.
Sure.
And, you know, they expect, like you said, a mom figure, because that's what they, you know, are used to. They see mom cooking and cleaning and having dinner on the table by 7:30, and dad comes home, eats, takes a shower, and chills out. So that's what he wants to do, but he's not doing the things that dad is doing behind the scenes. He only sees one part of it. He doesn't see both sides. Mm-hmm. And so he's only doing the one part he sees. And then when the female speaks up and points out the flaws or what she wants out of him, then it's a whole he makes it a whole big deal. Mm-hmm. And like, we're ungrateful. We don't understand what he goes through, what he's dealing with, and all that stuff. It's like the same thing could be said towards me. Right. You don't understand me, what I do, what I go through, mm-hmm. But yet I'm still able to do my part though. Right. Going through these things, but yet you can't go through these things and still do your part. Like, right. Where's the balance at in there? Right. And then also, I feel like how y'all said that, you know, the man's supposed to go out and work and they expect the woman to stay home, cook, clean, take care of the kids. But I think, like, it's looked down upon in society if the roles were reversed. It's like stay-at-home dads. Yeah. So, like, when the woman goes out, she works and she makes all the money and stuff, and dad stays home, he cooks, cleans, take care of the kids and get homework done, and you know, he's looked down upon like, oh, you're not a real man. Yeah. You don't wear the pants in your house. She's wearing the pants. Yeah. She's doing all of this and that. And like they only seeing from the outside. Nobody sees what's really going on the inside behind closed doors. Right.
I think too that another double standard as far as relationships is the amount of respect. Yes. Like a lot of, at least in my experience, men want all this respect on so many different levels, but then they're disrespectful on so many different levels. Like, for instance, just like the guy that I dated all through college. To me, when me and him got together, my partying slowed down. Like, I had obligations. Like, if my sorority was like hosting one, then that was kind of an obligation that I had to attend. But like all those other ones, I didn't really go to because at that time, and even still now, like my mindset is that a lot of people go to parties looking for a hookup or a relationship or something. Mm-hmm. But then when we got to the same school, or that he was still wanting to party and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas I'm like, okay, why do you need to go to a party? Like, people only go to parties for X, Y, Z. But like, to compromise, I was like, okay, you can go. The compromise was, okay, you can go to the party, but like, text, call me, and you're not gonna stay there like the whole time that it's open and jumping. Like, you gotta at least come home. But then it was, to me, that was out of respect for me. Right. Mm-hmm. In that, because his argument was, I'm going to hang out with my friends. One, all your friends ain't in a relationship. You are. Two, most of the girls there, like, most of the time when you go to a party, it's very, it does happen that you don't, hook up with somebody. Like, your boys are going to hook up with girls. Mm-hmm. So then it's just like, you as a man, as a guy in a relationship, like, what are you going for? Exactly. And then two, okay, you're getting to go, but do you need to stay the whole time? Like, you literally have somebody at home waiting on you. Right. So, like, to me, I felt like that was a fair compromise and out of respect for me, in that, it should have been fine. But then the respect aspect was taken out of it, and it was flipped, and I was gaslit to make it seem like I was being controlling. And so then it's just like, you want me to respect you when I had to go to these, like, sorority, when I was going to these sorority events, or like when I was going to these parties and stuff like that, I had respect for you that I wasn't dancing with nobody. Right. Like, I wasn't, doing X, Y, Z. But then when the tables are turned and I come up with a compromise, like we, come up with a compromise that, okay, you can go to the party, but you're not going to stay the whole time, and that, you have to communicate the whole time. It's an issue. It's me controlling you. And to me, that's where I feel like it's the double standard of respect. In that you want me to respect you, or I respected you as my, partner. But then when I'm asking you to do the same for me, it's flipped and turned into something that I'm trying to control you. I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to help you get what you want. but still respect the sanctity of our relationship.
Right.
And so, but no, it was, you trying to control me. You trying to make me do things that I don't want to do. Like, you're not letting me have no life. Like, just because you're here don't mean that my life stops and stuff like that. I'm like, well, where are you getting? And it's just like, then when I would question it, well, why you gotta question it? Da, da, da. I said what I said. No. You're not gonna accuse me of something and then not give me a chance to rebuttal. That's what we're not gonna do. And then two, like I said, to me, it was a compromise. You're still getting to go you, and that's why I feel like it was more to it, and it should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. In that you're getting what you want. You want to go to the party to be with your boys. You're going to the party and being with your boys, but you're not staying the whole time, and you're just communicating with me like, "Hey, I'm okay." Because like people shoot up them parties. People get in fights in them parties. Like things happen.
Right.
So it's just like, I'm concerned about your safety and things like that. It would have been worse if I was just like, send me a picture of you in the party. Share your location with me. Because that's what iPhones
Hello.
do.
That part.
If I would have been like, share your location with me. Now that would have been a little controlling. But me asking you to text me every now and then, you coming home at 12 instead of 4 a.m. when it closed, or 2 a.m. when it closes, to me is compromise.
Yeah.
But like I said, the double standard of, oh, I don't like you dancing with other guys, or I don't like you doing this, I don't like you wearing that. Okay, as my man, I was respectful of your thoughts and your wishes. But then when the shoe was on the other foot, it's like, oh, you controlling. So to me, that's a double standard.
Yeah. And I can speak on that, Mimi, in that, like I tell y'all all the time, I'm an introvert. I internalize things. So when I finally do speak about things, in those situations, it's seen as, being controlling. Whereas, say in a relationship, we're having an issue. In order to, derail that issue or to fix it, we have to talk about it. Because if it doesn't go unspoken, or if we just let it be, it's not going to get better. In fact, it may just get worse. He's not gonna know what behavior needs to be changed if I don't bring it to the table. Exactly. But when I'm bringing you that part, but when I'm bringing you these issues, like, of course, the issue isn't going to be something positive. Because if it was something positive, we wouldn't be talking about it. So, of course, it's going to be negative. So when I talk about, when we're talking about an issue that's something negative, how are you wanting me to boost your ego and talk about positive things? And then when I don't talk about positive things, like, yes, I'm bringing up the negative because that's what needs to be changed. That's what needs to be discussed. And your rebuttal is, all you see is the negative. You don't talk about nothing good that I do or nothing good that I did. And, like, I'm willing to talk about the good things that you did, but we have to get past this negative first. Like, and in school, they tell us we have to, like, build a sandwich. Tell them something good, then give them the negative, then that's the meat, then put another piece of bread on top. That's the good. So, like, I told you a little bit of good, but now we have to get to the meat. And actually the root of the issue. But you can't get to the root of the issue if all you're trying to eat is bread.
Right. To me, that's a form of gaslighting when you really
Yes, and I was about to say, I think that gaslighting is a follow-up, but not really a follow-up, but like a mechanism to deflect the double standard, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because it's like, I'm sitting here trying to, communicate with you because you're so big on communication, and in me communicating, you not only tell me that my feelings and my thoughts are invalid, but then you turn it to make it as if I am the person that's in the wrong. When in reality, at the beginning, nobody's in the wrong, but there's behavior that needs to be changed. There are actions that need to be changed. So, like, I feel like that's a double standard in that you're able, or one person in a relationship is able to voice their concerns, and we make changes, but when the next person voices their concerns, is all you see is the negative. You don't never talk about nothing positive, blah blah this and the third. But, like, how else do you expect this relationship to grow and go further?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a form of deflection, and it is a form of gaslighting, because it's just like, you can't say on one hand, I'm big on communication. Like, if there's a problem, communicate that with me. But then when I go to do just what you've asked me to do, I'm the problem. But then it's just like if the shoe was on the other foot, in that if you weren't doing something that they needed or desired in the relationship, then, and you bring it to their attention, then it's just like you have to be accepting of it. The expectation is different. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I think that double standards and expectations go hand in hand sometimes. Yes. And that sometimes folks' expectations are based on the double standard. Mm-hmm. In that they want their expectations of not just people in their relationships, but people just like in general, even in like the workplace. Mm-hmm. Your expectations are this, but when those expectations aren't met, then it becomes an issue. But then on the other hand, when you're not holding up your end of the bargain, how can you bring up someone else's shortcomings? Mm-hmm. And it's just like you have to be open to having those type of conversations, regardless of if they're uncomfortable or not. And like you said, we can't fix the problem if we don't talk about the problem. Because that's where a lot of issues come, like they get swept under the rug, and then once you sweep trash under the rug, eventually it becomes a big pile, and then somebody ends up tripping over it. Mm-hmm. Or you end up internalizing things so much that you end up exploding for the old and the new. Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then it's just like it just gets on my nerves when people try to flip it like that. Like they try to flip their shortcomings and make you feel like you're the bad person. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're telling them that something that you've done makes me feel X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. So then it's just like your response is to make me feel as though my feelings, either I'm crazy or, oh, I shouldn't feel like that. Like, for instance, oh, you didn't communicate, like, you don't communicate with me the way that I feel that you need to communicate with me. Or, like, I would rather have this, in our relationship. And then if I flip it to be like, well, at least I talked to you. I could just not talk to you. At least I did text you today. It's just like, so wait, what are you trying to say? Like, I should be grateful for your mediocrity? Hello. Like, hello. But then it's just like, on the back end, you're like, when we get together to record or something like that, we put our phones on do not disturb. Mm-hmm. And so then next thing you know, when we're on break or whatever, you come to like 55 different text messages. Why aren't you talking to me? Yep. Why are you ignoring me? But it's just like, you communicate, hey, we're recording today. I'm not going to be available. My phone's on do not disturb.
And that brings me to another point. Like, in relationships, both parties have to understand that time is different. And when I say time is different, yes, we both have the same 24 hours in our day, mm-hmm. but the way that we spend those 24 hours looks differently. Right. Mm-hmm. Like, for myself, and this is why it's hard for me to date, in my opinion. As somebody else, it could be 50 million other things. But, like, number one, I'm a mom. Mm-hmm. So whatever free time I have, which I consider free time is time I'm not at work. Mm-hmm. Whatever free time I have, it goes to her. Mm-hmm. I also work a full-time job. Mm-hmm. Yes, I work in a building, but there's also work that I have to do outside of hours. Mm-hmm. We are entrepreneurs, and that, we're doing this podcast. Mm-hmm. So I have time, and then we have church, and I have family, and then somewhere in there, I got to fit in time for myself. Mm-hmm. So, like, yes, I have 24 hours, but my 24 hours has already been accounted for. Mm-hmm. Whereas you have family, yes, you may have church, but, like, you work, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. So, like, you have actual free time, whereas I don't have free time, and then their go-to is, people make time for the things that they want. Yes, I can rearrange stuff sometimes, but I can't make extra time. 24 hours is all that I have. Right. I can't add in an extra hour that I don't have. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in the past, when I've made time for the things that I want, it has there has been a consequence somewhere else. So I ended up lacking, whether it was, and y'all know I've had Gabrielle Young, so I've lacked on the parent side. I've lacked on my commitment to God and my commitment to the ministry. I've lacked as a sister, as a daughter, like, and then in the long run, it ended up being for nothing, because where are you now? Like, I made time for the stuff that I wanted, but it's apparent that apparently you didn't want this because, sir, where are you?
Yeah. But that goes back to what you said, though, in that the double standard of relationships, in that men want a lot. Some men, I won't say all, some men want us to be at their every beck and call. They say, "Oh, I want an independent woman. I want my better half," but then you want us at your every beck and call. And it's just
the
like
two do not equate.
They don't. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, and it's just like you said, if I make time for you, enjoy it. Don't let it be conditional, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Like, because a lot of folks do end up making that kind of stuff conditional. Or then it's just like, but because you have so many things going for yourself that doesn't include them, they gaslight you to make you seem as though you're inadequate as a partner. And that's one thing that it grinds my gears. And when folks do that, it's just like, so a man can go out and have 3, 4, 5 different jobs, and a man can go and be committed, to other organizations, or like, be committed to like their church and things like that. They can go out and be, a father or whatever. They can hold all these hats, and when time gets away from them, it's okay. But then when us as women, we wear the same hats, or sometimes even more hats. Yes. And if we forget one little thing, if we forget to pack the kids' lunch, oh my God! How could you forget that? You had this, and this. Like, I would say, for me, and I'm learning that it's because of my upbringing. Mm-hmm. When Stefan and I first started dating and got married, the way that my parents raised me, because this is what my mom did for my dad, she cooked for my dad. Like, when my dad got off work, or either shortly after he got home from work, he had dinner ready for him. And so it's just like, growing up and seeing that, when I first got married, that was the standard that I put myself on. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like, Stefan, he grew up with a single mom. And so it's just like, he would tell me, well, you don't have to cook every night. Because, like, y'all, I was cooking every night. Like, it was, and then the only time that I did was when we had a planned date night. Mm-hmm. Like, I was cooking every night. Mm-hmm. And I was packing his lunch and stuff like that, so that way he would have lunch. Like, yeah. And it was taking a toll on me, because then, too, I was raised that you don't go to bed with a dirty kitchen.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I done went to work from 8 to 5. Then came home, cooked dinner, cleaned up the kitchen, took care of the dog, like, spent time with my husband, went to sleep, and repeat. Mm-hmm. And slowly but surely, it started to take a toll on me. And I didn't realize it, but he realized it. He was like, you don't have to cook all the time. You do know that you don't have to cook a full meal all the time. I'm fine with just some pizza rolls or something, or like pizza and some like wings, or like a box of lasagna that you just pop in the oven. Mm-hmm. And then I was just like, in my mind, no, you have to cook for you. I have to do this. And it's just like, that was what was embedded in me. But then on the flip side of it, that's what I was taught. And so, but then my dad, what was taught also in the household was that the man took out the trash. Mm-hmm. That, like, the man, like, did certain things around the house. And so then, when Stefan wasn't doing those things, and I was doing all the cooking and cleaning and all this kind of stuff, I'm like, hold on now, wait a minute. You're not holding up your end of the bargain, so what? Like, our deal was that because he doesn't like washing dishes. So our deal was that if I washed the dishes, he would take care of the trash. Mm-hmm. Trash be overflowing. Can't hardly put nothing in the trash. And then when I say something, it was an issue. But I'm like, but I can go and cook. Like, oh, I was tired. From this. I done went to work, came home, walked the dog, came home, cooked the meal, clean the kitchen. All you had to do was bag the trash and take it to the dumpster. So like, but if I miss one of my steps, if I don't walk the dog and then she pees on the floor, or if I don't cook dinner and you ain't got nothing to eat, or if the kitchen is nasty and we ain't got no cups to drink out of, then it's just like I'm in the wrong. My shortcomings are brought to the carpet, but then it's just like when I bring your shortcomings, like okay, you didn't take it. Like for instance, Bailey has a tendency to sometimes get in the trash. Like if she smells a plate of food or something. And so then he'll want to fuss at Bailey for getting in the trash. But then the dog mom was like, well, if you would have took out the trash like you were supposed to and the trash was overflowing, she wouldn't have got in the trash. So you're at fault too. You can't try to reprimand her when you don't do what you're supposed to do. And so then it's just like, it's become, at first, until we talked about it, it was like a double standard for us. And that the expectation was that I cook, I clean, I do this, and then you do that. But then it's just like when one of us didn't hold up our end of the bargain, it was just like, because I would tell him, well, I'm very capable, because see, this is where it became a double standard. It was me. I'm capable of taking out the trash. Before you even came in the picture, I was taking out my own trash. And then he'd be like, okay, well, you can take out the trash then.
Have you not learned about him calling your bluff?
Right. But then when it comes time to me, I'm like, can you take the trash out? Like, what happens to Miss Independent after take the trash out? It's heavy and it's dark and it's a lot of bags. You're like, oh, okay then. So it's just like I have to check myself, and then I end up being the double standard, or like I'm the perpetrator of the double standard. Yeah. And so it's just like, so we don't want y'all men to think that we just men bashers. Sometimes it's us too.
Yeah. I definitely have my flaws.
We all do. But that brings us to our next poll. We got the relationship aspect, but you spoke on it a little bit as to where you are already in that parental role. So
you got it, girl.
That's like a step further from the relationship role. So like y'all done surpassed relationship, y'all done brought a whole nother
human being into the world,
into the situation. So enlighten us on how the parental double standards are.
Okay, y'all, this is my arena. Tap me in, coach. Ooh, here we go. Put on the gas. You about to go there. But like, so let me start by saying this. Give a little disclaimer. Now, this is not everyone's parenting experience. This is just mine. So I'm only speaking from my point of view, what I have experienced myself, not even going off of observations. This is just me. But like, when it comes to parenting, as a woman, we carry the baby, we birth the baby, and we're the nurturers of that child. So like, when something happens, all responsibility falls back on us. Like, yes, there were two human beings that came together and created this mini being, but the responsibility isn't equally placed, in my opinion.
Right.
Like I said, I have Gabrielle. Me and her father are together. We co-parent. There is no court issue custody, but I am her primary caregiver. So that means she's with me most of the time. So like, if something happens to her at school, especially if someone's late to pick her up, like they call me. And then it's expected of me to drop whatever it is that I'm doing and go get my baby, which I will do. But then she has a whole nother parent that's just living their free life, or is it he? That he's just living, he's living, his best life. And I also feel that, when it comes to showing up, like, of course, every child wants to see both of their parents, but in my situation, when it's time, and he has gotten better, but at first it was just me showing up for her. Whereas, he would send money or send gifts. And it got to the point where I had to tell him that your presence, you being there, is better than your presence. Like, and I feel like that's something that men need to understand. Like, yes, you can send money. Yes, you can send gifts. Yes, you can call. But there's something different about you being there. Yeah. Like, actually her being able to lay eyes on you or run up to you afterwards that, you know, helps to mold and shape her, not just mentally, but you all's bond. Mm-hmm. So I had to tell him that your presence is better than your presence.
Yeah.
I'll also say another double standard with parenting was that, you know, now I told you all I have, you know, I'm her primary caregiver, and right now I'm working. That's really all I'm doing. But at one point in life, I was working, I was in school, and she was a newbie, so I was learning how to be a mom. Whereas, you know, he was working and in school, but he didn't have to physically take care of her. So he was out living his best life. He was out partying, hanging with his friends, just doing whatever it is that he wanted to do. And I felt stuck because it was like, I have to take care of her. Like, yes, I have my support system, but like, if I keep passing her off to them, I'm going to be labeled as a bad mom. Like, granted, you're not doing half the stuff I'm doing, but once I start lacking or start slacking, I'm the bad person.
Yep.
Whereas you're always the good dad. As long as you do your one visit, your one phone call, you're the best dad in the world. So that's a double standard. Along with, you know, like I said, when I had her, I was in college, I was working, and I did get my degree. I had her most of the time. Her dad decided not to finish school and to just work. So, you know, that's what he decided to do. And with that, you know, he finally decided that he wanted to go back to school to get his degree. And he's been able to go all the way through school, work, and still not have to solely focus on parenting. Whereas now I've presented him with a career change that I want to do, and it's going to take maybe like a month or two of my time to get that education. He's like, I don't think I can do it. But I'm like, I done held her down while I was in school and while you were in school. Like, never, not once while you were in school was I like, here, take care of her, I need to do this, or here, watch her this day so I can do this. Whereas, and let me give y'all an example, and I'm not trying to paint him in a bad light, but these are just things that have happened within our co-parenting before we got to where we are now, because we are at a better place. But like, I remember when I was getting my teacher license, I would go to school because I had to teach Monday through Friday, had church on Sunday, so my only free day was Saturday. But I'm still a mother. So me and her, we would pack up, go down to the school, and have a quiet place, and I would work. So one Saturday, I asked him if he could come get her while I do my work. And he was like, yeah, sure. I asked him this on like a Wednesday. I touched bases with him that Friday night, and I was like, hey, I'm still planning on going to the school to get some work done. Do you mind taking her? He was like, yeah, cool. So then I called him, and that Saturday, once I got to school, we stayed there for a little bit, and I was like, hey, you know, we're here at the school. When are you coming to get her? And he heard somebody in the background, and he got upset. And he was like, oh, I thought you was using this time for school, and you there, da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, sir, I'm here doing work. Like, I'm work with more than just myself. Like, right. I'm here, we're in the same program, we're bouncing ideas off of each other. Like, we're just working. And so he whole lot told me that he wasn't coming to get her. And so I broke down in that moment because I was like, I've been taking care of her. I've been working. I've been doing the best I can. And all I need is about 3 hours so that I can knock this out and get it out the way. So long story short, he did end up coming to get her. But it was just the stress and the pressure before that it was like, now that the tables have turned and you've been in school, never, not once have I ever done that to you. Like, when you told me you can't get her because you need to study, I was like, okay, cool. When you told me you can't get her because you have a test coming up, okay, cool. But when the shoe was on the other foot, I was expected to go to work, be mom, do homework, and all that stuff with no, I won't say no, but with very little support. And like I said, our relationship or our relationship in co-parents has gotten better, but, you know, there's still that unequal sense of responsibility to where once a child is born, or even before the child is born, all the responsibility is placed on the woman.
Yeah.
So I think And that doesn't even have anything to do with rearing or anything. It's just how it is. Like, the mother is seen as just the everything for the child, but when really it takes both parents to help mold and shape and raise that child. Because then what ended up happening is I became, in his family's eyesight, I was the bad person because she wasn't coming down to see them. But in my mind, like, I wasn't about to, work, do homework, all this, that, and the third, and then drive down to bring her. Like, they never offered to come get her. So I was like, so why isn't that, an option? Why does everything have to be on me? Why don't y'all tell him to come get her and bring her to y'all? He doesn't have to watch her. Y'all can watch her.
And I was going to say that, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I'm the product of, like, a divorce. And so it's just like, hearing you say that, the first thing that popped in my mind, no shade, but that's not your family. That's his family. And it is his responsibility to foster that relationship with Gabrielle and them, not yours.
Right.
And that the only part that you have is to make her available, meaning that pack her bag, coordinate when the exchange will happen. And it's his responsibility to go to those family functions and bring her. Or if he knows that, hey, my side of the family's having a family reunion on this weekend, can I have Gabrielle, do you have anything planned with Gabrielle? Or is she, is it something that she can come to, that way she can see her cousins on my side of the family? That's a conversation. It's not in my opinion, it's not your responsibility.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, it has grown and gotten to that point, but at first it wasn't.
Yeah.
And like y'all know, I was a people pleaser, and that whenever they wanted to see Gab, I would not stop what I was doing, but rearrange my life just to make sure that I could drive an hour. Because remember, I live an hour from where they live. I would drive an hour to drop her off, come back an hour, and then once they say they're ready, drive an hour to pick her up, and then drive an hour right back. So that's 4 hours out of my day or week that was making sure that they had access to her. And I felt like I was getting the short end of the stick because she has another sibling, an older sibling, and they would drive to that sibling, and their excuse was they have family that way. Okay, well, she's your family, and she's this way. So regardless of if it's just her or if she has 15 other people here, you can't tell me that you drive that way because there's family there, because they're saying that you don't care about this family here unless I bring them to you.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, our relationship has gotten better to, where we do meet in exchange, but at the beginning, it was always me going there.
Yeah.
Me going there, me going there. And, like, that took a toll on me, but I wanted to make sure that, because I told him, I'll never not allow you to see her. Like, no matter what we go through, what happens with us, she's your daughter, you'll always be able to see her. Like, as long as we plan ahead, I'll make time for her to see you. So that was my thing. I never wanted to be the reason that they didn't see her. And I didn't see it as it being his responsibility because he didn't have her. Because I had her, I saw it as my responsibility to make sure she gets to them. And then to make sure that she gets back home to me. So, like, it was a lot. It really was. And I wish I could give an aspect from, parenting with 2 parents in the household, like me with my helpmate. But as a single mother, all I have is, me co-parenting with someone outside of the home. And it hasn't always been glitz and glam. It also hasn't always been, up the creek.
Yeah.
But, it has its ups and downs. And the downs is that most of it falls on me.
Yeah. I remember recently, because Gabby's 10 now, and so, like, we can have those conversations. I remember having to have that conversation with her about, because like she said, the way that it's portrayed is that Dad, and I'm not speaking ill of her father, but, like, that he's this glorious superhuman that, like, gets to swoop in every now and then and is everything, but then it's just like what her mom does is forgotten. And I remember having to have a conversation with her, and it is a hard conversation, but as her godmother, and then as the person outside looking in, because I know how hard you work to be a good mom to her. It's not fair to you as her mom to have to, what all that you do behind the scenes, that it's a shadow is cast over it because dad comes in and is able to, swoop in and take you places and do the things like that. Whereas the real grit of parenting that you do 7 days a week or whatever, it's, diminished. And it's just like, no, like, I had to have the conversation with her, like, no, yes, I understand your dad is your dad, but you're not going to downplay what your mom does for you. Because when your dad's not there, when you're sick, who takes care of you? And she was like, Mommy. I was like, when you need something for school, or you need clothes, or you need things, you need to eat, who provides for you? Mommy. I was like, okay. So then it's just like, don't downplay what mommy does for you simply because daddy has bought you the game that you wanted.
Right.
Or daddy has taken you to the mall like you wanted. He's done the fun parent things. But then it's just like the grit of actual parenting ain't going to be overshadowed because of that one moment. And it's just like, to me, I feel like that's a part of my role as her godmom and Lex's role as her auntie, to let her know, to be that support for you. To let her know, like, no shade to your daddy, but your mama a rock star. Don't play. We're not going to play that. That's what we're not going to do. And so it's just like, I think, but that's true to the testament of double standards in parenting. Is that a lot of the times dad does get to be the fun parent. I mean, yeah, some dads, like, I'm not saying that they're not hands-on dads, but majority of the time, it is mom that bears the weight of the child rearing. A lot of it. They have to not just be the disciplinary, but they have to be the nurturer. Then sometimes mom has to be the middle person in between child and dad. And it's just like, but that goes back to those gender roles and those expectations of the man provides, the woman does everything else. And so it's just like, but now in the day and age that we live, you have more co-parents than you have two-parent households. And so the view on parenting is skewed in that because child lives with mom 7 days a week, a brunt of the parenting happens, it falls on mom's shoulders. And then when dad swoops in, because they're the fun parent, or they're not there all the time getting on them and stuff like that, they're the fun parent, so they get all this praise. And then it's just like, but then when you gotta wipe their snotty nose or take their temperature or take them to doctor's appointments and things like that, all that is overlooked. And I know it was like that for me as a kid, and I didn't realize it until I was a teenager. Like, my mom never talked bad about my dad. When they split up, she never talked bad about them. But a brunt of mine and Damien's upbringing fell on her and, my bonus dad, because he's not a stepdad, my bonus dad. And so then it's just like, when my dad disappeared for all those years or whatever, that's when I realized that, like, because I was like, yeah. And I think that's why it resonated with me to talk to her about it. Because I was like, yeah, like, my dad would come in during the summertime, swoop in and make all these empty promises of what we was going to do. And really, I just sat at his house all summer. I didn't even do anything fun. But then it's just like, but I was hyping up, my dad's going to do this, my dad's going to do that, my dad's going to do this. And it's just like, I didn't realize how it made my mom feel until I got older. And like I said, he did his little disappearing out. He disappeared for a while. And it's just like, and in his mind, because he paid child support, he was a good parent. I wanted other things besides that financial support. Like, I wanted you to come to some of my school activities. I wanted you to see me just besides the summertime. Like, get me for Thanksgiving, get me for Christmas. Like, do something for me come see me for my birthday.
Right.
But it wasn't until I got older, I was like maybe like 12 or 13, when it really like clicked that, yeah, my dad is my dad, but the blunt of the big amount of who I am and my upbringing was coming from my mama.
Right.
And so then it's just like, I can remember as I got older, like, I apologized to her. I was just like, and I think it was like I was in my 20s and we were talking about, my dad and stuff like that. And I told her, I was like, I apologized. I was like, because I know I was a brat when it came to my dad. Because I always been a daddy's girl. And I was like, but now as an adult and seeing how, you know, a lot of my childhood, you've always been the constant. But I was praising the inconsistent.
Right.
The inconsistent parent. And it's just like, I had to apologize to her and just be like, you know, I'm sorry. And she was like, you know, it doesn't warrant an apology. I was doing my job as your mom.
Right.
But it's just like, to me, it still warrants an apology.
Right.
So that's why, like I said, I will get on Gab about that. And then, no, we're not going to downplay what mama do. Because I done seen mama go through the trenches to be a good mama. And it's, you know, sometimes, you know, you're still in the trenches. In that, you know, you are spread so thin. And I know, you know, we talk about it. But it's just like, you know, you're spread so thin. And it's not fair because she does have another parent. And then it's just like, but it's hard to make that parent be more present when the standard is, or the expectation is that you're going to handle it all.
Yeah. So I do thank y'all for having those conversations with her. Because that's
Oh,
something
because
that we
listen.
haven't talked about. You know.
We'll be the bad guy.
She catch these things.
Right.
She's old enough.
Okay. Listen.
But I do thank y'all. And like, that's why I say it's very good to have a good support system.
Yeah.
Because it does get hard. You know, and it gets lonely and it gets frustrating. Just because, like I said, it took two of us, but yet all of the responsibility and all of the accountability falls on one. You know?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I understand that. And like, we find double standards everywhere.
yeah.
No matter what aspect of life you look at, there's going to be double standards somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you just have to brush it off, deal with it how that moment seems fit, whether you notate it or you deal with it right then and there, ask questions and communicate, whatever it may be, to either try and nip it in the bud or to bring light on the situation.
By a healthy resolution.
Yes. So, you guys, however you seem fit in that situation to deal with your double standards, by all means, don't feel bad or like it's your fault. Because at the end of the day, it ain't going to get better if you don't make it aware that it needs to be fixed.
So true.
So just make sure that we are working on that and letting it be known. We're going to end our double standards topic right there, you guys. Until we see you next week, we again are the Cousin Chronicles, and we love each and every one of you. Bye.
Bye,
y'all. Stacking every month, put that work in. I deserve to stand. Bring the baddies to the front. It's the type of life that I want. It's the type of life that I want. It's the type of life that I want. Yeah.